how would I define art?
That is a very difficult question to answer. I don't think anyone has a concrete answer for that.
The way I see art is a creative activity. It has to have value. It has to be novel. It has to make people think. The arts have been critical to not only to reach out to other people, different disciplines, but to learn how things are done in a different way, to be open-minded, to address questions in a different way. Right? And I think the more we understand how the brain responds to the arts, the better we can understand ourselves, and we can develop, potential intervention programs to promote that. The Brain on Art initiative speaks at how we can harness the power of the arts to understand the brain and use that knowledge to promote creativity, well-being, and innovation.
We have artists, for example, creating music improvisationally. So we had 2 jazz musicians and a drummer. In another one, we had 3 creative writers doing an improvisational piece. One of them was a poet, one was a philosopher, and another one was a published creative writer. We've had 2 versions of this with visual artists, so 3 people on each experiment. And we've had dancers too. We were invited to the Smithsonian Museum of American History to showcase our research about this. And we had a dancer coming with us and explaining what we were looking at in the EEG signals and what she was expressing with her movement as well.
In my initial collaboration with artists, it was clear that there are some gaps in understanding each other as different fields, but also understanding the opportunities and the challenges. So I decided that I would like to gather a group of thought leaders in these different fields that have an appreciation for art, or that already work at the intersection of art, medicine, science, or education, and discuss in an open forum, what are the challenges and what are the opportunities, how we can grow together in the field. And so with the support of National Science Foundation, the Office of Naval Research in Europe, we were able to put together this meeting.
So in the conference we had about 100 people, half of them artists, half of them scientists, 30 of them were students, both disciplines. It created a very nice discussion. We had neuroscientists and engineers discussing all the techniques that we should focus on in order to try to capture the creative process in action and in context. And we had artists providing their insight about their experience while working with scientists and how we can get to understand the creative process better.
I'm here because I'm really interested in how we best define and describe a creative process. It's a universal sort of methodology that each human has regardless of discipline or domain.
Well, I've been working in this earth science field for about 35 years now. And so clearly this is an area where there's a lot of recent excitement, and so I was very keen to sort of catch up on what was going on, some of the ground truth.
Often we don't have this kind of conversation across both domains, and so that's why I was intrigued by what the conference would be like.
I was invited precisely as somebody who's at the very intersection of the relevant questions that were being addressed here with respect to neuroscience, aesthetics, and how to use art and how to use science in addressing creativity. The question I'm going for is the issue of consciousness and awareness, and I think that creativity and studying and using the arts to understand self-awareness, societal awareness, and how we adapt in real time to situations is a great paradigm to understand that ultimate question of awareness, and eventually that is the question that we're after with respect to intelligent systems.
When you set up experimental protocols, an artist can inform a scientific research paradigm by the kind of questions that is being asked, by the types of protocols that are being set up, by the types of control groups that are going up. So the scientific method in and of itself needs still to be highly controlled, and in such an environment it's very, very difficult to study the arts. But the artist can still help in setting up the right questions, the right control conditions. An artist can inform how a scientist is to go about studying the arts or the creative process in that regard.
As an artist, I'm very aware of what's happening in my body and the experience of what's happening. It's fascinating to me to be able to then understand in these micro-neurological levels what's also occurring in the brain. And the most exciting aspect, I think, of collaborating with neuroscientists is finding this concrete evidence and data of what I know to be true intrinsically and can now be proven extrinsically.
I think artists can really help the scientists get a more nuanced and subtle vocabulary to really be asking the right questions. In the past, not always, but sometimes, scientists have maybe oversimplified certain things about creative process or thinking or certain things, at least in how they're maybe designing stimuli or experiments, and I think artists can really add to the discussion.
We are also engaged in our small little world of possibly producing some knowledge in that world. We have to be highly specialized, and unless we broaden our horizons, we may miss the forest for the trees, not just in the arts and the sciences, but also in their interaction.
Hopefully over the next 5 or 10 years, this will become common and popular enough that it is recognized as a domain unto itself. And then what happens with conversations across disciplines with artists, that remains to be seen. I think that conferences like this are just scratching the surface. They're not very common.
I think it's going to be an increasing field, increasing interest from not only scientists and artists, but humanities, all kinds of people. And I think we'll see a lot more perhaps interdisciplinary collaborations where they bring science into art galleries like they're doing here at the Blaffer Museum, and also vice versa. We'll see a lot more publications in the science field that have to do with art as well. So I think the lines will become even more blurred.
So I think what's next is to start finding more meaningful ways of extrapolating the findings and without overgeneralizing or making too many universal claims about creativity or art and the brain, but being able to find out specifically what we know and what we don't know.
I told the audience at the beginning, this is your conference, it's going to be as good as you make it. And I think they all listened to that because it was great. I mean, everybody was very active and really engaged. And I think the credit goes to everyone here. And because of that, now we're going to expand our activities in this area here at UH and our community. So stay tuned. We have great plans.